Welcome to a brand new episode of Into the Astral Lands podcast. I'm your host, Eric Malachite, and tonight we're going to be talking about Nightflyers. Nightflyers was a novella by George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire fame, or a book. I'm guessing it was a novella. I picked up the illustrated edition. Pretty huge fan of at least the books of A Song of Ice and Fire. So it was kind of fun to dig into this book. I bought it last night randomly, and I enjoyed it for the most part. We're going to get into my review of the book itself, but I wanted to talk about the trailer to the show now that I've read the book and gotten a chance to kind of process it. And I find it concerning that that sci-fi is producing this because, you know, sci-fi does not have a huge, it does not have a great track record with these kind of things. And, you know, we see what they did with Stargate and several other things. You know, I mean, lately they've been putting out cheese, you know, Sharknado after Sharknado. So I don't know if they can do a science fiction horror series like this much justice. But the fact that Netflix is kind of involved, like there's like international Netflix or something stamped at the end of the trailer along with the sci-fi logo. So I don't know what that means. You know, is Netflix, you know, putting up half of the funds for this, or, you know, how involved is George R.R. Martin? That's what I'm curious about, because the book is all about, you know, this crew that contracts with a mysterious ship and a mysterious ship captain to find a mythical alien race known as the volcryn, who traverse interstellar space, never once coming close to the terrestrial planets and stars for some reason. They're a complete mystery, and in fact, a lot of people seem to think that they're just, you know, a legend. So, but the book itself is essentially a ghost story in space, and kind of like, it's almost like Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho in a way. It's an interesting read, one that I didn't really enjoy at first. Like I enjoyed it in spurts, but I didn't really connect with any of the characters until later on, and even then it was only tenuously so, because I enjoyed how well written it was, and I enjoyed a lot of the lore and the mythology behind it. But some of the things that fell flat were the characters. Like, I didn't know who was who in the beginning. Like, I get the feeling that this was a very early novella for Martin, because were he to write this now, well, for one, it wouldn't just be 200 pages long. It would have been like 500 or 1,000 or something. You know, it'd be really long-winded, but not necessarily in a bad way, because in A Song of Ice and Fire, Martin's characters are just really robust. They grab you, and love them or hate them, their character voices are always strong. But here it feels less so, and it's less about the characters so much as the terror and the things that are going on. I enjoyed it. I think it's good, and I'm interested to see where they take the series, and I am going to watch it when it comes out. That much is certain. But picking up the illustrated edition, it was illustrated by David Plumo. I don't know exactly what his track record is, you know, what all he's done, but the illustrations are nice. They definitely add to some of the context of things, even though I'm completely fine with imagining the things that are going on. In fact, my mental visualizations in my mind's eye, if you will, were pretty close to what the artist imagined, so that's pretty cool. And I do think that the book gets better the more you read it. I think it builds up momentum, and I think Martin's writing got better as he was writing this. But yeah, it's a decent short science fiction horror novel. And it doesn't even have chapters, so I don't even think it's really a novel. I think it was sort of spaced out. I think it is a novella, but the spacing was kind of spaced out for the font. It makes it very enjoyable to read, though. And I basically sat down and read it in one day or a couple of hours, one sitting. And it was fun. It was fun. And, if you got $25, or $18 as it is on Amazon, and if you're a fan of George R.R. Martin, it might be worth it to throw down on this. It's a very nice book. It's not like, not paperback quality or anything. It's a hardback. It's it's a more expensive book. And if you're fine with having something that's short and to the point and, not necessarily super complex, there's mystery here and there, but it's pretty much explained away towards the end, which I don't know if I liked as much. I would have liked if things were left a little more open as far as the explanations go for the phenomena on the ship. I'm not going to get into specifics because that's going to contain spoilers for, potential spoilers for the show if they follow the original book, which I think they should, because, it works as a concept. It's not super imaginative, but it's very well written, and I think the concept can hold up. And I think it can be extrapolated on. I think the universe could be revisited if Martin is willing to do that. But, much to the malignant outcry of A Song of Ice and Fire fans that would probably scream in outrage if he wrote anything besides the next A Song of Ice and Fire book. So, bottom line, what is my rating for Nightflyers, the illustrated edition by George R.R. Martin? Well, I think, if I'm rating things in a out of 5 stars, I think I would give it 3.5 out of 5, because it's just because of the weak start, didn't connect to the characters at first, and, only really kept reading because the writing style is so engaging, not because the characters are really all that interesting. Some of them border on interesting sometimes. The main character could be argued to be the ship captain, and he's interesting in as far as he's a mystery. So, I don't know. Maybe my rating would change depending on my point of view, but the way it seems, like, it's a very nice, short novella. I'll just say that. It's worth a read. It's worth picking it up and reading it through, over the course of a couple hours, and maybe check out the show too. We're gonna have to see how that goes, and maybe I'll do another episode on that when it comes out, because Game of Thrones itself, I haven't watched past like season 3 because all I've been doing is reading the books. So we'll see if it's good. But with Sci-Fi's name stamped on it, I'm just a little worried, especially with that trailer, because they were really focusing on the set design, and this is a really ambitious set. Well, what the fuck do I care if your set's ambitious? Tell me what your story is about. Show me that your actors can act and aren't gonna turn a good concept into a cheese fest. Yeah, cheese fest. I think that's a good term, especially when you're talking about sci-fi original films. God, is it weird that I still remember the days when sci-fi was spelled SCIFI, not SYFY, That's fucking stupid still, and it still irritates me. But whatever. They became the channel that's all about Face Off and and Sharknado, and I guess they're trying to reclaim some of their former lost glory. And some of you might be fans of The Expanse. I have not actually watched that show, just because it was on Sci-Fi, and apparently Netflix is picking that show up. So maybe I'm gonna have to sit there and watch it. I've heard it's really good, and I heard the books are really good too, the tie-in books. Eventually I'll have to check it out because I do like space opera. I've been kind of space operaed out as far as novels go, because they're kind of hit and miss as far as how good certain authors are. I've read a lot of Werner Vinge, and while Werner Vinge is good, I don't think he's like an amazing writer or anything. He has pretty cool concepts, and sometimes his aliens, like there's this hive mind of dog-like beings in A Fire Upon the Deep that's really cool, that interacts with the children, the child characters in the book. I'll have to talk about that book at another point, but I'd have to reread it, and I got too much to read right now. I don't really write a lot of space opera, so it's hard to to find time to do that. But, if you have any suggestions for books that you'd like me to read and review on the show, go ahead and shoot me a comment. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Ring that bell because YouTube is stupid. And I'll see you next time on Into the Astral Lands podcast.